Spoiler warning. The following discussion will contain spoilers. We recommend checking out the movie first, then coming back to hang with us. But if you don't care about that, glad to have you here.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the 25 Days of Real Christmas, a series where we review the old and new holiday favorite films. My name's Kevin.
And I'm John.
And we are the Real Movie Guys. On today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at Happiest Season, a holiday romantic comedy that captures the range of emotions tied to wanting your family's acceptance, being true to yourself, and trying not to ruin Christmas. So, John, this is a little different for us.
Very different.
Very different. Not in a bad way. You know, I like the typical romantic comedy here and there. You know, I'm not always against it. We have this one and we have another one that's, I don't know if it's a romantic comedy necessarily, but, you know, it's in that, like, that area, right? You would say?
Yeah. Close to it.
So, Happiest Season is an interesting movie. This was actually supposed to come out in theaters, post-COVID, of course. It actually wrapped up filming right before COVID happened. Supposed to come to theaters. That didn't work out, obviously. And now it's a Netflix, not Netflix, I get in trouble for that. It's a Hulu film now. So the main thing you're going to notice in this movie right off the bat is we're actually getting LGBTQ representation. We're actually getting some male, female interaction. It's actually two women in a relationship together. So that's very different, I would say. Right off the bat, it made this movie automatically interesting to me because it's something completely different. We haven't actually had that kind of representation, especially in a holiday movie.
Yeah, it's not like the same old beaten to death story.
Right, and it's a different perspective, at the very least. So it is something fresh, and we do have some great actresses that, back that up. First off, I have to say about this movie, before we even go into, the positive and negatives, it is honestly great to see the LGBTQ plus representation in this film. Just the fact that we're actually getting it, it's becoming mainstream, I do think that's a plus overall, 100%. It's been a time coming. It's glad to see that everyone's being accepted, and, we're starting to see more of a normalcy to it in media, especially. I feel like this movie does a lot of different things, right? The first thing it does is it tackles some pretty heavy subjects, I would think, which I was kind of surprised about. I would argue this movie, at first you think maybe it is going to be more of a rom-com, which it does have elements of that, but actually I feel like it's more of a dramedy. Would you agree on that?
See, that was my one thing too, also.
Right.
With this movie, just in general, I didn't find it as funny, I guess, as I thought it was gonna be.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like,
yeah.
'cause when they say it's like a comedy, I expect more like laughter and jokes and stuff. But
Right.
this one was more of like almost kind of like seemed like another typical Hallmark movie,
Right.
but with a different story, like a different telling of something.
Right. No, exactly. And like I said, going into this, I felt like the marketing, just based on the few trailers that I watched for it, it definitely marketed this more as a rom-com. So to see more of the drama come into this film was kind of a culture shock for me, more than anything else. I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're going more the dramedy route, which is fine, and I think it works in some way. But the main issues it tackles, I think, are really important and don't get really discussed a lot in holiday movies, especially. I like how they do address the importance of image, just being yourself in spite of judgment. That's a really powerful message that they have in this film.
It shows you too, like, the struggles that people go through when they're trying to figure out who they are, what they want people to see them as.
Right. That's probably the hardest part. Again, I can't relate to that. We can all relate to that in some factor, but more people in the LGBTQ plus community, definitely this is something that they struggle with. I could see it definitely. A lot of the times it's like, the question is, do you come out and that's the end of the story, everyone's happy? This movie doesn't really have an answer. It shows different perspectives of what would happen when you do come out, to your friends, family, whomever at this point. There's different ways people handle that situation. And this movie addresses it mostly in a positive way. I do have a little bit of issues with that we'll talk about later. But overall, though, I think the importance of image is just something a lot of people can relate to. Automatically, regardless if you're part of that community or not, I think you can find something to relate to. Another thing it relates to, and everyone can relate to this, anyone that's in a relationship, which I do like, it captures the awkwardness of bringing home someone for the first time to meet the parents. That's always kind of a little awkward, right? When you meet someone's parents for the first time, especially in a holiday setting where you're just like inundated with just knowing the whole family in one shot instead of like slowly. This movie captures that really well. Kristen Stewart does a really good job in this movie. I actually really liked her performance as Abby.
That was one of the things too. I thought she was very good, and I
Hmm.
also thought Mackenzie Davis, who played Harper, I
Okay.
felt like she did a really good job with her role, and seemed to like
Interesting.
really care about it.
Interesting. I have some thoughts on that, but again, Kristen Stewart really brings, she was just on here on our channel recently when we did our underwater review back in July. That was a
Yeah.
popular video of ours. You should check it out. Little self promotion. Sorry, had to do it. Kristen Stewart, she gets a bad rap for being in Twilight, which, it is what it is, but she actually is a really good actress. And, she is part of that LGBTQ plus community. So it's nice to see that getting her, her bringing awareness and representation. At times I actually honestly forgot. Like, I just was watching people in a genuine relationship, and her conflict I just thought was really compelling at times. I really liked it. She definitely had that emotional range from where, she wanted to be with someone who could be themselves. And you just saw her just really bring, I would say, like a fire to this movie.
I also like their friend too,
Yes.
who kind of comes in at the end.
Daniel Levy 100% is amazing in this film. Now, Dan Levy is actually the son. Eugene Levy is his dad. You can definitely see the relation. When you look at them side by side, they look identical. He comes literally from comedy royalty, so it's no surprise that he just brings it. He's also on Schitt's Creek, which we talk a lot about. Maybe that's a show we should review at some point, because I feel like all the actors end up creeping onto this show at some point for us. He brings a lot to this movie. His comedy is on point every time. If for most part, if not all of it, I would say all his scenes got a chuckle out of me, especially, towards the end when he meets Harper's, I guess, ex-boyfriend or pseudo ex-boyfriend. He's like asking him if he works out,
Yo,
hey, you working
lift,
out?
bro?
You lift, bro?
And he goes,
how much you lift?
He goes, how much do you lift? He goes, 1,000 pounds.
Right, and I like him just playing, like, he just bursts in the scene especially, like you said, at the end of the movie. He just bursts in there and he's playing like, I've come back for Abby. I've come back for her. I am the heterosexual boyfriend who wants to win her back. And he's got like a deep voice he's trying to do. He really brings it. And not even the comedy, he brings like a lot of heart into this movie, especially at the end when he gives his coming out speech about how everyone comes out differently. And that was pretty touching. I would have to say, like, he can definitely turn the dial like a really seasoned actor, right? He can be really funny at one moment, and then suddenly out of nowhere, he just brings the heat with that speech.
Definitely.
It was really compelling. We need to watch him. Like, Dan Levy, we're going to see like big things from him in the future. There is some negative with this movie. As much as I like, I can't stress enough the importance of representation in this movie and a lot of the ideas it brings up. My only issue with this movie is I was actually kind of disappointed a lot overall. There was a lot of things I really wanted to see, and I know, John, you had mentioned that you liked Mackenzie Davis as Harper. Mackenzie Davis is most recently famous for being in Terminator. She's big in popularity right now. I thought her performance was just flat throughout the whole movie. I did not get anything great out of her. And not even that, they just portrayed her as just a terrible person. And I did not want her and Kristen Stewart to be together. I feel like at no point, besides maybe a little bit in the beginning, was I rooting for them to be together whatsoever.
I was thinking too that what would have made this movie even better is if Kristen Stewart started going out with her old girlfriend.
Well, yeah,
I thought they were going to have
want
a connection.
Right, and that's something I want to talk about too. So, but going back to that, like a lot of this movie, like I said, it deals with the importance of image, of being yourself in spite of judgment. Mackenzie Davis, who plays Harper, she plays her as a terrible person. Well, let's be realistic. She's pretty terrible to Abby throughout this whole movie. And I know it's a holiday film. I know there's, the Christmas magic and, it's just a movie. But at the same time, her just saying, I'm out and I love you and you're all I need, that doesn't fix her like habitual bad behavior in this movie. Yeah. From destroying her first girlfriend to lying throughout the entire movie, it just doesn't suddenly make it better. I feel like this movie went for a quick resolution to where, okay, I'm okay being myself, I'm happy, everything's fixed. This is more of a sensitive subject, so I don't think they did a good job with that. I just felt like it just kind of swept everything under the rug, and that relationship between Abby and Harper, it's just toxic. It reeks of toxicity, the whole thing. They have a little bit of chemistry towards the beginning, but then, like you said, then Aubrey Plaza's character comes in, and Aubrey Plaza, she can nail it as an actor. She plays Riley, who's Harper's ex-girlfriend. Her and Kristen Stewart, have the best chemistry on screen, for sure. Like,
Well,
I wanted them to be together. I couldn't find a reason that they shouldn't be together. And I thought that's where the movie was leaning, but it just kind of ignored that chemistry.
well, they also seem like they connected to each other more.
The whole idea was Abby wanted someone that was going to be there themselves, like she was. And she kind of found someone like that. She found
Yeah.
Riley. And Riley's like that. She's a doctor. She's successful. She had a bad coming out when she was younger, but, she's risen above that. She's comfortable with herself and doesn't care for judgment, which is what Abby's character has been pining for. But we ignore that, right? It totally gets ignored, and we just go back to Harper, who just doesn't want to. And it's not even the fact that she doesn't want to admit who she is. Like, she just thinks she can just sweep everything under the rug, and I don't like that. I don't like that resolution to this story.
Well, yeah, and also what adds to like the whole thing too is like how bad like her family was acting too.
Right.
Like I didn't enjoy any of the characters of her whole family. I didn't like their character performances really.
Yeah, I just wasn't sold.
They were kind of like
Yeah.
bland. Especially the dad part was like
That was one of my weaker aspects too. I agree with you. I didn't really like the whole, running for a political campaign storyline. I get how they're trying to show like a conservative family where image matters, and it does tie into that, but it wasn't anything that interesting. It didn't add anything. They could have just been a more stricter family and that would have been fine. I didn't need this whole like political subplot that was going on. I felt like they were trying to shoehorn in a little bit.
I understand like she was her dad's like favorite and stuff, and that's what made it really even harder for her to come out to him
Right.
because of the way he saw her.
Yeah.
But I felt like
You weren't sold by his performance, essentially.
no, not at all.
No, and
Like,
Victor
or even
Garber's
her
a seasoned
mom's, too.
actor. He's a seasoned actor. He's had he's most famous. He was in Alias, Legally Blonde, Titanic. He's been around for a long time. So I am surprised we didn't get maybe a stronger performance with them. I didn't really feel the bond between him and Harper as much as I probably should have. It felt like something was missing. Harper, it felt like, had more interaction with the mother than anything else. My whole complaint really just is the whole ending is unearned. The coming together, it just didn't do anything for me. Her rallying speech at the end of this movie, and in a gas station, it didn't do it for me. I don't know what it is too, and usually I can ignore that, but I just feel like her character of Harper just came off so unlikable to me in this movie. And just seeing her get this happy ending, I don't think she necessarily deserves, and even Abby deserves, because I actually liked her a lot. I actually liked Abby's character a lot, and I wanted more for her. I became a lot more invested in this movie than I thought I was going to be, and because of that, I feel like it really impacted my enjoyment. Like, I really didn't like the direction they went. Again, we talk about the importance of image in this movie and just being yourself in spite of judgment. This movie tries to even add other characters so that Harper's two sisters in the film have their own weird coming out, quote unquote, in this movie, where the one sister just says, "I'm weird."
Yeah.
And that's it. And then the other sister says, "I'm getting a divorce." And it's like, okay, those are fine, but they're not life altering events. Like, I don't know if they were trying to like put them on the same level. I'm not too sure what was going on there. Again, I think it was just trying to tie into that theme of image and being yourself, but it wasn't the same. I'm sorry. It wasn't on the same level of what was going on, with Harper and, Abby's relationship there. I feel like this movie was really afraid to commit to a more meaningful ending. I think maybe I would have rewrote it to where, they split and then she finds that love that she wanted with Aubrey Plaza as Riley. Maybe there would have been some kind of subplot where that, they found what they were looking for in life. Maybe Harper needed more time to accept who she is and, to find her path. But Abby, it wasn't what Abby needed at that time. I don't know how I would have fixed it, but maybe that would have been one of the ways, just having her and Aubrey Plaza be together. Because, again, Kristen Stewart and Aubrey Plaza, their chemistry is just spot on. And that's the movie I wanted, and I didn't get that.
If I was looking at it through like their eyes, I would have wished that they would have done better with like the whole movie in general, just for like just showing more things of how it mentally changes people and how it does hurt people in this way.
Right. I feel like it got lost in the whole just the miracle of Christmas thing where like one speech can just save the relationship. And that brings me to my final issue or question I'll pose to you, John, is do you think this movie should have stuck in one lane? Do you think it should have either just been a comedy? It should have just been a drama? Maybe they should have just been like a rom-com? Like, do you think maybe the splitting of that dramedy angle just wasn't the right choice for this film?
Yeah, I think it should have just stayed as a drama film.
I agree.
I mean, it didn't have so much comedy in it where it was like taken away.
Right.
But then just make it a drama and don't had so much comedy in
And
it.
maybe even my
I
other
feel like it would have
question,
made it better.
and maybe even my other question is, was the holiday angle just not the appropriate angle for this movie in some regard? Do you think we could have just had maybe another story and we wouldn't have that whole miracle of Christmas ending? You know, maybe there could have been something a little more dramatic or a little more intense for the viewer. Like, I just wonder if maybe the whole Christmas angle of this movie just hinders it, and just so slightly. This movie could have been so much more. And that hurts a lot, especially because, again, we're getting that representation. We're getting great actors. I mean, we talked about the cast, how great they are. I mean, everyone really is solid. It's just the movie you're in just can't get to that level for me. It really can't.
I also don't think that it will connect to us as it would connect to somebody who's like an LGBTQ plus
Right.
community.
Right.
But even in that way, I feel like those people would still be a little bit disappointed. In this movie.
You know, and I can't relate to their struggle at all. I can relate to, we can relate to in some aspect, just being yourself in spite of judgment and whatnot. But I can't relate to that on a super direct level.
Personal level.
Just surface, maybe just surface for me. But I was disappointed. Honestly, I was 100% disappointed. I expected more. This movie, again, just didn't land it for me. But that being said, I think we're ready to give our final scores. I'm going to give Happiest Season a D+. I wanted to like this movie a lot more than I did. I thought it had a lot of potential. The cast is fantastic. I can't praise Kristen Stewart enough. For Dan Levy, Mackenzie Davis didn't do much for me, unfortunately. I don't know if that's her or just the role she was in. The script has a lot of problems, and I question whether the idea of Christmas is what threw it off. Maybe they should have stuck maybe in either a drama or a comedy lane and not do the dramedy rom-com thing. It's a mess, this movie overall, and the relationship just being too toxic, I couldn't get behind them being together. And when you make a movie like this, especially about a couple, you want to be rooting for them, and I just couldn't find myself doing that, unfortunately. John, where do you stand with this film?
I'll give this film a D+. It just wasn't what it's not, in general, it's not a movie I'm to watch again.
Of course.
But I felt like they just didn't do the movie justice either.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there was good characters in it.
Right.
But I also thought that it should have just been a drama movie
Mm-hmm.
instead of like a dramatic comedy. I feel like then you would be looking into something different.
Right. There's a lot you could have done there, and this is more out of our wheelhouse for both of us. Again, I like to dabble a little bit maybe in like the, the dramatic, rom comedy area kind of thing. This movie is a little my wheelhouse, so I am interested to let us know. Guys watching this video, let us know what you think. Maybe we're missing something, or maybe there's an aspect that we just didn't totally nail, but let us know in the comments below. Reach out to us, definitely. John, where can the people find us at home?
You can find us on YouTube. The Real Movie Guys on YouTube. Like our channel, subscribe to it. Tell us what you thought of this movie. You can also tell us on Twitter. We're at The Real Movie Guy on Twitter. You could tweet at us. Let us know what you thought about this movie, your feelings about this movie, or maybe what your expectations were going into this movie. Mm-hmm. You could also listen to us on many podcasting platforms such as...
Yes, for your listening pleasure, we are also available in podcast form at iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcast, Overcast, Breaker, Radio Public, and Pocket Casts. Be sure to give us a listen at any of those fine places. If you already are right now, hey, greatly appreciate it. Just search out Real Movie Guys. We should pop right up. Thank you all again so much for joining us for this episode of The Real Review. My name's Kevin. That guy over there, he's John. We are your Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. And don't forget to tune in all this month as the holiday festivities continue during the 25 days of Real Christmas. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. We'll catch you next time.